Welcome back to the GTN Show. With the Paris Olympic tri-events kicking off in just a week's time, the Paris Mare has finally taken a plunge into the River Seine. Also, we've seen a ton of new tech ahead of the Olympic Games, including some special Trisuits for the Team GB athletes. Lionel Sanders has finally punched his ticket to the Ironman World Championships, and over 200 doping tests for one team arriving at the Olympic Games in just 10 days. Okay, before we get on to the triathlon news of this week, I thought I'd run through a few fun bits I spotted on social media. First off, the Ironman live coverage. Yeah, many of you have commented on it before, and how Ironman takes rather inopportune times to cut to ad breaks, and it seems that was the case for Lake Placid this weekend. Now, we'll get into the results and details of Lake Placid very shortly, but when Matthew Marquardt posted a ridiculous bike split, and then Trevor Foley was also running a ridiculous run split and finally passing one another, Ironman cut to an ad break. And On Your Left Triathlon have poked fun at that. Well done, chaps. Also from Lake Placid, again, we'll get on to results very shortly, but an athlete that didn't unfortunately feature well within the top end or the pointy end of those results was Joe Skipper, and he's posted up this saying, unfortunately today I felt very flat and not myself in Lake Placid. I just didn't really have anything in my legs. I felt terrible. Honestly, I'm absolutely gutted and just really down. I was looking forward to this race and my training had gone really well, so I was very confident of putting together a great race. I'll be taking some time off now. I'm going to get some blood tests done to see if there's anything up with me. I've been so inconsistent in races and rarely feel like myself. He goes on to congratulate the other athletes, but yeah, obviously we're big fans of Joe here. He's a great athlete, and yeah, really hope he manages to get it sorted. And then final one, Camworth out training with Richie Port, obviously great friends back from home country, and yeah, getting in some time in the pool, and even Cam goes on to joke that the only way he can keep up with him now is using flippers. And rolling on now into the tri news, and the first bit of big news is that the Paris Mare, Anna Hidalgo, had promised that she would swim in the River Seine to prove that it is clean and ready for the swim events in the Olympic Games, such as the triathlon and the marathon swimming. And she has fulfilled that promise this past week as she took a plunge into the River Seine. There's no word as to whether people followed through with their plan of pooing upstream in the Seine on that day or not. Now, obviously, swimming in the River Seine has actually been banned for many years due to the quality of the water. But the Paris organisers have actually invested over 1.5 billion euros into basically trying to improve the quality of the water, which has caused a bit of an uproar, particularly within France, because to date, they haven't really heard or seen much improvement, and many of the tests and results coming back have shown that it's really not good. Obviously, she's now jumped in, assuming she hasn't hugged a toilet for the past week. We should be good to go for the triathlon and marathon swimming events. Yeah, fingers crossed anyway. Talking of the Olympics, get a load of this. A stage show has just premiered in the UK called Red Speedo, where essentially a professional swimmer is pinged for doping just a night before the Olympic trials. It's the first time that also they've seen a swimming pool on the stage, but obviously this is a timely release ahead of the Olympics, particularly with all the talk of the Chinese Olympic swimming team. Now, in case you missed it, 23 Chinese swimmers tested positive for the same substance back in, well, early 2021, and were allowed to continue competing after the China Anti-Doping Agency accepted that the positive tests were caused by an inadvertent contamination. And actually, the World Anti-Doping Agency reviewed the cases in 2021 and chose not to appeal the decision. Now, the substance that they were tested for or caught with was TMZ, a medication that actually increases blood flow to the heart, which obviously is going to be performance enhancing. Obviously, this is early 2021 in the lead up to the Tokyo Olympic Games, in which the Chinese team actually took home 3 gold medals and 6 medals in total. And also, in an unrelated case, you may also remember earlier to 2021, China's Sun Yang, who was a very big name in the swimming world, received a doping ban in which he actually had a drug test sample destroyed with a hammer. Yeah. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is because since the Chinese swimming team has arrived at the Paris Olympic Games, obviously in the lead up to the events, in the first 10 days of arriving, they have had over 200 doping tests. Wow. Now on to What the Tech. Now in case you missed it, Canyon released a new Aeroad last week, but what might interest many of you guys, you may not have noticed in some of the previous photos and videos, is that it now has integrated aero bars. Oh yeah. Now actually I found a bit of a workaround for the old iteration of the Canyon Aeroad, which I got a lot of questions from people about how I got clip-on aero bars onto that. Well, it seems that Canyon have listened to you guys and they've now integrated them into the cockpit. So they've got a whole new cockpit. It's called the Pace Bar or cockpit. It's got a ton of adjustability, so you can actually change the width of the handlebars. You can change the drops for their new aero drops, but also put extensions on. They basically can bolt up through the middle of the handlebars, and it looks a lot like the kind of mono riser and aero bars used on the Speed Max, with a bit of adjustability on the handles sort of at the end of that. Of course, that's not the only change. You've also changed kind of the profiling to the front of the bike and the fork, so they're a lot narrower. All in all, apparently made the bike around 14 watts faster. Pretty cool. Stay tuned, because we're actually going to have a bit of a in-depth look at that bike very shortly on the channel. That's not the only new bike. Pinarello have actually just released their new Bolide TT ahead of Paris as well. Now this actually has many of the features that we saw on Pinarello's Bolide FHR, which Garner used for his hour record attempt. Now notably it's the Airstream tech that's probably going to pique a lot of people's interest, and apparently it's based on the tubercles of the flippers of a humpback whale, and the idea of these, and you'll see it on sort of the down tube and the seat tube or seat post, is that it's meant to try and reduce the drag around kind of a messy area. We've got the legs moving, the air flowing around in all sorts of different directions. It's meant to kind of smooth that air flow out very well. Along with that, they got updated airfall sections, wider tyre clearances, and apparently the narrowest fork and seat stays possible. Now back to triathlon. Of course, there's going to be a lot of tech that's going to be spotted over the coming weeks ahead of the Olympic Games, but Team GB have also been spotted wearing some new Trisuits. It was Alex Yee and Beth Potter that were using them, and Cagliari, and they look quite different to your typical Trisuits. In particular, on Alex, you can see there's just a lot more material up on the shoulders. Now, they've said the new kit uses different materials, covers more of the body than conventional Trisuits, and they've been developed with UK Sports Institution and draw on some of the aerodynamic technology that British cycling have used in the past, but obviously they've now tweaked it to get extra help in the water as well. The performance director, Mike Cavendish, confirmed the suits will be very different to off-the-peg models, saying you can't or won't be able to buy these. They're bespoke, fitted to every athlete. It's quite difficult to get materials that work well in terms of fluid dynamics, as well as heat dynamics and aerodynamics. But we've done a lot of work with our partners at the UK Sports Institute and their innovation team, testing both materials, fit, and then treatments for materials. So watch your space. And finally, if you haven't seen our video already, On have just launched their On Cloudstrike and Cloudstrike Lightspray running shoes. In particular, it's the Lightspray model that will really catch your eye, because it essentially has no laces. But there's more to it than that, which you'll be able to see in our video on the channel. Basically, a robot creates the shoe. It sprays a single polymer thread onto a last that moves on this robot and bonds it seamlessly to the sole of the shoe. All in all, taking just roughly 3 minutes with the robot and the spray onto the last of the shoe. It is really quite amazing to watch, and you can see that all in our video and find out more about it, so you can check that out. Link for that is in the description just down below. And on to the race news. The big race this weekend, the next stop of the Ironman Pro Series, was Ironman Lake Placid. And this, well, was quite exciting, because obviously we had Lionel Sanders back racing a full distance Ironman, the first one in 18 months. But also we had some notable other talents such as Trevor Foley, Matthew Marquardt also making up the names there. Unsurprisingly, it was Josh Amberger that led the charge early on, breaking away from the rest of the field with around 5 others with him. Notable names such as Braden Curry and also on Arnold Gallo around 2 minutes back, and Lionel Sanders just shy of 6 minutes in arrears. Matthew Marquardt was in that lead group and really pushed the pace early on, gaining around a 45-second advantage on everyone else by around 12k in, and around 50k had just shy of 3 minutes advantage. Lionel, meanwhile, was making his way through the field from 24th out of the swim up to the chase group, and then actually broke away with Trevor Foley, and then they both entered transition with around an 8-minute 30 deficit to Marquardt, who actually rode an amazing 4:16.53 bike split on a very tough bike course. Onto the run, Trevor Foley just unleashed. He eventually caught Marquardt with around 3 miles remaining and posted a phenomenal 2:36.31 run split, which is the fastest ever, or the first actually, to go under 2:40 on that course, and in doing so posted an overall time of 7:55. Also the first male to go sub 8 hours on that course. Matthew hung on for second, clocking a new bike course record, well, that was amazing, 4:16, whilst Lionel took third, also punching his ticket for the Ironman World Championship. So well done to those lads. Meanwhile, over in the women's race, it was another Uber swimmer, Lauren Brandon, that set the pace early on. She was joined by fellow countrywoman Rachel Zelinskas. Other pre-race favourites, Sarah True and Jackie Herring, were out of the water 5th and 6th respectively. Sarah around 5:30 down and Jackie 7:30 adrift. Whilst we also had Danielle Lewis, another pre-race favourite, who left herself a lot of work to do on the bike and the run. She was over 15 minutes, I think it was around 15.5 minutes down just out of the swim and in 15th place. Brandon Zelinskas and Lottie Wilms formed a trio at the front of the race. It was actually Rachel Zelinskas that broke away on her own in the end and entered T2 of around a 4.5 minute advantage over Sarah True. Danielle Lewis had reeled in some time, but still had around 10 minutes to the front of the race coming off the bike. Sarah True set off very, very quickly on the run and quickly found herself in the lead, but also not too long after actually found herself coming to a walk and actually having to be seen, unfortunately, by medical staff and eventually retiring from the race. Danielle Lewis was absolutely ripping through the field, and with 10k to go, she took the lead and went on to break the run course record that stood since 2009 in a time of 2 hours, 52 minutes and 23 seconds. Absolutely amazing. We had Jackie Herring taking second and Alice Alberts in third. Other races this weekend, we had the inaugural Challenge Quebec. That was won by Jack Moody quite convincingly on the men's side. On the women's side, we had a closer race between Valerie Bartholomew, who took the win just ahead of Jodie Stimpson. We also had the Truma Triathlon, which I'd never heard of before, but attracted a pro lineup. That was won by Carolyn Pohl on the women's side, and on the men's side it was Paniotas Bitados. Upcoming this weekend, we have the next stop of the PTO T100 Tour this weekend in London. The men racing on Saturday, the women on Sunday. It's going to be exciting. And now for Try Spy. Last week's photo, well, the clue was this, and well, this is what you guessed. Dobster said Alistair Brownlee. Paul Egan said Try Spy is your Heather. Incorrect for both of those. Michael Chiller, is it the brilliant Natalie Van Corverden? I can see why you might have said that actually. But the correct answer, well, few of you got it right. Oscar Gomez said Nikki Bartlett. You can almost see her smile on that small piece. Joanna Barlow said Nikki Bartlett, friendliest pro on the circuit, always takes time to engage with age groupers. Yeah, it is Nikki Bartlett. Way. Well done if you got that right. This week though, do your best. I think I've made it fairly easy. I'm giving you quite a lot to guess from there. But will you get it? Let us know in the comment section down below. Say what? All right, some of the best comments this past week. First off, on our show last week around the water quality, which obviously I've covered a little bit more this week. Aaron Noir said, I understand the water quality, but what about the sharks? If you've watched the Netflix film, you'd know what we're talking about there. Next ones though, come under our video of Ollie Bridgewood from GCN. This guy hates running, which is Ollie Bridgewood, basically. If you haven't checked it out already, I thoroughly recommend you do so because it's quite funny. I basically force him and twist his arm to come for a run with me. And he's annoyingly good, actually. As Abby has said here, rants endlessly about running and how hard it is, how it causes injuries and how boring it is to run and how he hasn't run for a decade, then proceeds to casually run a sub 25-minute 5K without even breathing hard in a zone 2 heart rate. Mind blown. He was, yeah, as I said, annoyingly good. And I think we might have to call him back for some more running content. There was a little comment in there around me running the entire length of the canal. It's Ollie's suggestion, and if we get 5,000 likes on the video, then you know what, I'll do it. And Lennart B has said, now I'd really like to see Mark run the entire length of the canal. Great idea, Ollie. So if you would like to see that happen, get on over, watch the video, and give the video a like, and you might see that happen begrudgingly. Anyway, that is it for the show this week. We've also got a really cool video coming with another of our GTN presenters, Connor Dunn, in which I've managed to get him to do a half marathon over the course of 2-3 months of training. He does, again, annoyingly well. Stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed today's show, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. See you next time.